Okay, thank you, Roger. Halftime is almost over, and we're going to try to get some last-minute instructions from the coach. We're going to try to get a word from him right now. Here he comes now. Coach, can we get a word from you real quick?
Yeah, sure can.
Now, what did you tell your players before they left the locker for the second half?
Well, what I told them was just relax and concentrate and play some ball. I mean, you know, you leave the candy and the girls alone because that makes your legs weak. You know, what I'm trying to get them to do is don't let them dictate the game, and I believe if we play as hard as we can, then we can play up to our potential, OJ.
Well, look, how do you feel about the team's first half performance?
Well, you know, anytime you have a big game, I mean, you're going to have some jitters. I mean, if we could start sticking to people, putting the hat on the people, you know, give them 110% every single time, then I believe the Super Bowl is ours.
Okay, well, look here. What do you think you guys are going to do around about the second half? I mean, you guys got a lot of opportunities to get done. Buffalo got its running game going really, really well. What are you going to do about that? They're really penetrating. They're doing a lot of running up there. What are you guys going to do about that?
Well, what we're going to do is play some control-type offense. I mean, we got to keep the ball from them in the second half. I mean, you know, passing game and, you know, open that up. I mean, because if we don't do that, and I know it's hard for you to hear me, but we'll get a few breaks and we'll be fine. You know, but as you know, this game is a game of ups and downs, so we're going to go out there and get the momentum going for us, you know?
Well, look, Buffalo got their running game going early. They're penetrating the line. What are you going to do about that? Are you going to put some linebackers in? Are you going to start to step up some of those holes? What is going to happen in the second half on that?
Well, what we're going to try to do is get our passing game going. I mean, as you know, the war's not over. The battle has to keep being fought. I mean, you can't allow them to play. I mean, they're playing worse than my grandmother would play. So they just got to go out there with their heads.
Well, I think that's the signal for the second half. I got one more question to ask. Are you going to go with your air attack? I mean, we haven't seen you do a lot of that in this game.
Well, we're going to keep running what we have, and then we're going to try to get, you know, get the passing game wide open for us.
Well, thank you, Coach. I'm going to have to go ahead and wrap this up.
OJ.
Roger, back to you. We're going to be looking forward to a great second half of football.
President Clinton's lead economic advisor. Tell me, Mr. Kellerman, what is the main focus of the committee going to be during this next fiscal year?
Well, Kathy, things aren't going to be as simple as they seem at first. There are a lot of factors to be taken into account. Whenever you're going to try to balance the budget, there are several ways to do it. Now, we're going to have to concentrate on the approaches that will best suit the American people without compromising the current financial security.
Well, tell me, will there be large cuts in Medicaid and Social Security?
Well, now that's a very complicated question. Although there will have to be some substantial cuts in government-aided programs, there will also be tax breaks for the elderly and needy. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be easy. There are sacrifices that need to be made, but if we all pull together, I truly believe we can bring this to a conclusion that's amenable to all parties.
Your critics say that these are the exact same policies that have failed in the past. How would you respond to that?
Well, now, I've addressed this point over and over again. The issue is not what has failed in the past, but what will work in the future. You know, we have to stop worrying about what is behind us and look ahead.
Last week, the Dow plummeted 80 points. Are you concerned with the current volatile state of the stock market?
Well, now, what we're seeing is a short-term readjustment. The stock market is traditionally influenced by world events. Recent troubles in the Middle East, the decline of the Deutschmark. You're bound to see some temporary instability.
What sort of a timetable are we looking at here?
Well, these things can't be rushed. You must be patient. Let the current recession run its course. And then we will be ready to tackle this problem with total equanimity.
In closing, Mr. Kellerman, can this plan work? Can this council make a difference?
Well, let me just say this. We know that there are people out there who are hurting. I can stand up here all day and say, things are going to get better. But see, that's not going to help that man in Trenton, New Jersey, who just lost his job. We'll put our best minds to the task and then run it up the flagpole and see if it's wearing panties.
Thank you, Mr. Kellerman. We certainly wish you luck with that. This is Kathy Williams reporting from the White House.
Leaving 3 dead and possibly 2 others wounded. I have with me Officer Douglas Danforth of Precinct 26. Officer Danforth?
Yes, Debbie.
Officer, early reports have indicated that these deaths are organized crime-related. Can you confirm this?
It would certainly seem so, Debbie. The victims were all known to be affiliated with the Parigi crime family. As you know, the family has been torn by a bloody power struggle since last month's death of the reputed godfather, Roberto Parigi.
So, do you have positive identifications on these victims?
We won't be positive until we can check the dental records, but these men were well known around the neighborhood as well as the family in court.
But just tonight, I've been speaking with some local residents, and they seem very reluctant to say anything about these men. Is that for fear of reprisals?
I'm going to have to say partially. Despite its troubles, the Parigi family remains a force in this community. Certainly nobody wants to go on record identifying these men as criminals. But you also have to realize that the community, these men are commanded. They got respect in the community.
But that money, does that come at a price?
They're family men, and absolutely it does come at a price. We're talking business loans at up to 50% interest, and believe me, if you didn't pay on time, you won't be very lucky.
I see. Do you have any leads on who might want these men dead?
Right now, our best guess is it was an inside job, perhaps linked to the reports that an internal battle...
So wait a second. Do you see these deaths as the end of a bloody power struggle or just the beginning?
Rival organizations may see this as their chance to rid themselves of the Parigi family once and for all.
So what you're saying is the community can rest easy tonight.
I wish I knew, Debbie. In the meantime, residents in the community will surely feel increased police presence. We're on top of the matter, and I'd like to stress that nobody in this community has anything to fear.
Thank you very much, Officer Danforth. Again, 3 are dead, 2 are wounded, and the culprits are still at large. From the corner of Anderson and Wilder, this is Debbie Woodruff. Back to you in the studio. And one more thing I might say, if you can tune in this evening and make sure if you have any news or any speculation on who these men might be, please call our studio and let us know as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Back to you, Bob.
Hi, this is Kitty Singleton in the Fox Newsroom. Joining us tonight is the Director of Housing and Urban Development, Mr. Richard Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan, how have the recent budget cuts affected HUD?
Terribly. Our agency was one of the hardest hit by the cutbacks, largely due to the negative press over past scandals, which is tragic because low-income housing is essential to the welfare of the country. By making cutbacks in our department, you are really shutting the door on the future of our children.
But what reassurances do we have that impropriety won't happen again?
Well, I guess all you have is my word. See, when the Treasury was first set up, they lacked a mission statement. Unclear goals of the department that allowed the situation to get way out of hand. Employees were not required to get projects and loans approved through proper channels. But since that time, new rules have been implemented which provide safeguards against that ever happening again.
Now, you mentioned a mission statement. What is HUD's mission statement?
Well, I can't tell you the exact wording, but we are here to help provide low-income families the chance for affordable housing and, in the process, help develop the inner city.
How will the cuts in the budget hurt HUD?
Well, Kitty, the budget cuts were based on the idea that the interest rate would fall below 4%, thus lowering the need for HUD dollars. But the interest rate has remained constant, which will deplete the funds that HUD has allowed for low-interest loans.
So what exactly is HUD doing to revitalize the nation's crime-ridden public housing?
Well, as you know, there are over 3.4 million Americans living in public housing, and HUD has delegated over $483 million for rebuilding and security purposes. We're here open to improve the housing department so that the families can once again feel secure in their own homes.
But won't the cutbacks be detrimental to public housing?
Regardless of the presidential budget cuts, public housing is our #1 priority. So I would like to reassure the low-income tenants that even though the president is retreating from urban homesteading, the housing department will not abandon these people.
Now, what projects can we expect to see from HUD in the near future?
Oh, well, to name all the goals of HUD would be futile considering the time allotted here. But I can tell you that the new commission that was designed not only to help the consumer, but also the infrastructure of our inner cities.
Okay, now you speak about public housing, but what about the first-time home buyer?
With proper employee verification, we can ensure that those people will be the first on the list to get homes with substantial down payments.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Mr. Sullivan, for taking time out of your busy schedule and joining us here today.
It's been my pleasure.
This has been Kitty Singleton live for Fox News. Good night.